Hello, everybody. This is Charlene. I'm a CPA. I'm also a certified tax coach. Welcome. And this is a live webinar organized by XQCPA. Joining me is Remy Elawar from Cadence. We are going to talk about the PPP, which is the Paycheck Protection Program today. Remy, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, small business owners. My name is Rami Elawar, as Charlene had said. I work closely with XQCPA, and I am the branch manager for Cadence Bank in Houston, Texas. And so what we're looking at today, and we would like to introduce to you, is a small business guide to the PPP loan, the Paycheck Protection Program, provided and prepared by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And so what we wanted to we wanted to go through and kind of answer some questions. But first, let's go through the program. Let's go through the handout that they've given us, and let's describe what the PPP program entails and how you as business owners can benefit from the relief. So, Charlene, most of my clients are saying, "Hey, here's some questions that they're asking, and what do they need to know?" So first off, am I eligible? As a business owner, how can I be eligible for this program?
Yeah, so to be eligible, you have to be a small business with fewer than 500 employees, which means if you are a Macy's or a large corporation, then you probably will not qualify. In addition to that, it's important to also highlight that the program is available for nonprofits. If you have a 501c3 status, then you will be able to apply for PPP. If you are a 501c19 veterans organization, you will also meet the requirement to apply. Next, we want to talk about when you apply for PPP. In our previous webinar, we have mentioned you cannot apply through SBA website. You have to go through a financial institution. So what are lenders really looking for?
Yeah, so lenders, what are we looking for? So because the PPP program is only provided through your financial institution, keep in mind most financial institutions are only allowing their current customer base to apply for this loan. And so unfortunately, at Cadence Bank or at any other institution, if you don't already have a bank account with them, we won't be able to take an application. So what are we looking for once you put on an application? Well, lenders are going to really do this in a similar good faith process. What we want to see is that the loan proceeds are to retain workers, to maintain payroll, and to make mortgage, lease, and utility payments. We want to see that when you use the funds, that you haven't applied anywhere else for them. So we're finding, most institutions are finding that you've got an account at 3 different banks, and you've applied for the same loan through 3 different institutions, and unfortunately, that won't count. You need to just apply at one institution and receive proceeds only one time for this. So if you were, this is meant to help also independent contractors apply, sole proprietors, even if you have a DBA, and if you're self-employed. Some real estate agents, they're self-employed, and so they're actually out there looking for this. So we're looking for payroll tax filing statements, forms that are included that your employer may have gave you, 1099 miscellaneous forms, and income and expenses. Especially if you're a sole prop, they're going to be looking at your profit and loss statement and possible balance sheet to see where and what you need this money for and what you're going to utilize it for. But you know what's nice? What they're not looking for. What they're not looking for is if you have a stellar credit score. And they're not looking for a personal guarantee on any of these loans. And of course, the best part is they're not looking to take any collateral in order to receive any proceeds or relief from the PPP program. But so, Charlene, to help our clients get better prepared, what type of payroll tax filings do you think that they would be reaching out to you for?
Yeah, so there's on the federal side, they definitely will be asking for your 941s, So 941 reports are reports that every employer needs to submit on quarterly basis. So the 941 report is going to report your quarterly wages paid out to your employees. So most likely, if you have been in operation, if you're already running a business in 2019, then they will require 941s for first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter. In addition to that, if you are including your calculation on SUTA, which is the state unemployment, they will also be asking for your unemployment reports, the unemployment filings at state level. So if you're in Texas, it will be the TWC quarterly reports for the 4 quarters. So those will be the common reports. Of course, if they need additional information, then most likely they will ask you to provide copies of W-2s, W-3, which is a summary of all W-2s.
So some of the questions that my business owners need to understand is, well, how much can I borrow, Charlene? I mean, I've run my business successfully for 3 years and I want to maintain my employees, but how much am I allowed to borrow and how is that calculated?
So the amount that you can borrow up to 2.5 times of your average monthly payroll cost. But the way to do this calculation, it's a little different. You can't simply just put or tally up or total up your payroll cost and divide it by 12 and times 2.5, because they do actually have categories, right? There's payroll costs that included and payroll costs that will have to be excluded. Okay, so what is included in your calculation? So in terms of payroll, you can include salaries, wages, commission, or similar compensation, such as bonus payments, but there's a restriction of 100,000. In addition to that, payment for any vacation, medical, sick leave, payment for retirement benefit. Example, if you are paying 401k, if there's an employee deferral and employer portion, you can also include that. You can also include the SUTA that you had to pay. For example, if you have state unemployment insurance that you had to pay every quarter, you can also include that. One important one is a group health insurance. So if you provide group health insurance, you can also include that. The tricky part is that people do ask, if I'm an independent contractor, what do I do? Remy, do you want to share some insights?
Yeah, so if you're an independent contractor, a sole proprietor, or self-employed individual, the sum of payments for any compensation and income for a sole proprietor, they're going to be looking at in your payroll cost calculation is any wages, commissions, income, or net earnings from self-employment or similar compensation not to exceed more than 100,000. So the same stipulations apply. And they want you to pay yourself. So just keep in mind that if you're self-employed or if you are the employer and you do not take a salary more than 100,000 a year, you can include that in your annual average total monthly payments for payroll. But what would we exclude from the payroll cost, Charlene?
Yeah, so the excluded portion will be the payroll taxes. As an employer, you have to pay 1/2 of FICA taxes, which is 6.2%, Social Security taxes, and also 1.45% of Medicare taxes. So that adds up to 7.65%. You cannot include the 7.65% in this calculation. So you have to take them out. And the next part is that we are going to talk about, will this loan be forgiven and how much will it be forgiven? Remy, you want to share some insights?
Yes, so this is 100% forgivable loan. If you are eligible because you prove to the SBA or to the lenders that you took the loan from, that you use this money responsibly for maintaining and employers and maintaining the funds for the purposes that they instructed you to use it for. So you may be eligible for loan forgiveness, and eligible is the key word there. And we'll explain to you what happens if you aren't eligible and what the loan turns into. But at this point, it's saying how much will be forgiven. Well, it could be forgiven, and there's a 75%, 25% ratio. Okay, so remember the 75-25 rule. 75% of the funds that 75% of the funds that you receive from the PPP loan proceeds must be used on payroll and retaining employees. And 25% of it, the remainder, can be used for eligible utilities, rent, or mortgage obligations. So borrower is eligible for loan forgiveness equal to the amount that the borrower spent for an 8-week period. So they're trying to say what we're trying to give you these funds for is to maintain payroll for the next 8 weeks. And if you can maintain payroll for the next 8 weeks, then please set aside these funds in a separate checking account once it's funded. And then you can easily track the spending of who you paid to retain and keep on your payroll and which employees you paid. And secondly, how much of it you have left to use for utilities, rent, mortgage, and in that capacity. But so if it's not forgiven, Charlene, what are the guidelines that they stated that the loan will turn into at this point, which is, it changed, I think, 3 times in the last 3 days.
Yeah, so initially they said 0.5%, 2 years, and then I have read about materials that talk about 10 years, 4%. Today is 2 years of repayment, and it's 1%. Remy, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but as of right now, it's 1% and 2 years. Now, I do have to stress on one thing, business owner, when you ask for forgiveness of this 8-week period, you need to remember, in terms of repayment of your mortgage obligation, there's a principal and there's also an interest payment. So what PPP talks about is that the amount that's forgivable is not the principal, but only the interest. So that's when bookkeeping becomes really important, because a lot of time when people don't do proper loan reconciliation, you get all the statements and your loan statements. When you buy equipment loan, for example, you will see a breakdown of how much is for interest payment and how much is for principal. That's when it becomes really important for you to substantiate with your banker, because the forgiveness process is not automatic. You will need to provide actual documentation of your payments. For example, if it's for payroll, you need to provide payroll reports. You might actually need to provide pay stubs as a proof that you have issued payroll to your employees. Rent payments, you are going to need to provide check payments, as a proof that you have made the payments. Same thing with utilities, your phone bills, your internet, your electricity, gas, water, so on and so forth. So you're going to have to provide proof. I don't think the forgiveness under PPP is automatic.
That's correct. It is not automatic. Most financial institutions will grant a 6-month deferral on payments after the origination of the loan. So think about it as a 2-step process. First, to apply and then receive the funds. Utilize it responsibly and track what you're using it for, because they're not going to ask you to make your first payment until your month 7. So 6 months of after you receive the proceeds, 6 months, you'll receive a deferment of payment. And then in the 7th month, they will start asking you to start paying them back or apply for the loan forgiveness. And so in order to do that, there'll be a second round of possible application processes. We don't know just yet, but just keep in mind that more organized you are, the easier it will be when you start going back into the process to ask for the forgiveness. So we keep moving along with the process, and more questions continue to arise outside of how much can be forgiven, if it will be forgiven, and what calculates that. So some of the more common questions that Charlene and I are starting to address are what banks are offering the PPP loan. And so I'll start by answering that one, Charlene, only because there is a lot of misinformation that's out there, and unfortunately, some information that is coming through the pipeline is true. For example, as we're recording this video, Wells Fargo has stopped taking and participating in applications for all of their customers. Most banks are going to help each of their clients first, and then they may open it up later to help any non-client.
Which
Please
stresses
check.
the importance of having a good relationship and continuous regular relationship with a banker especially
Yes,
during this time.
absolutely, absolutely. So then once they apply, they're asking the banker, which we most of the banks, when you apply, have submitted them to an online portal, and bankers cannot be involved in that process. This is the responsibility of the business owner. So a lot of my clients are coming back to me and saying, okay, so when will I find out? What's the turnaround time? Unfortunately, that's out of your banker's hands. We're facilitating it through the banks, but we are not going to be able to provide you with status updates. So how are they going to find that status update to their application, Charlene?
So if you apply for a traditional EIDL, you're supposed to be able to log into an account and actually check the status. And I think up until a couple of weeks ago, I still see that there's a way for you to check your application status. But I'll be quite honest, this past week, I don't think that feature is actually available. So if you're aware of that, because I was trying to, which is a perfect segue for my next question. But before I go to the next question, I want to highlight that right now, when you type SBA, application check on sba.gov, what you will find is that they will give you an email address and also a contact number. If you try to call that number, it will tell you that the line is very busy right now. So, which means if you want to check your status, patience is the virtue. You have to be patient, and patient. Which is my next question. I am already starting to get a lot of questions from business owners. Charlene, have you heard anything? Have you received any news from any of your business owners? Has anybody received any funds from EIDL? Well, let's not talk about PPP because PPP just started. April the 3rd is the first day, and honestly, on the first day, not very many banks are even ready. SBA themselves, I believe, is also trying to revamp and trying to improve the process. So I don't think, other than BOA, I don't think very many people have applied. So, I guess my question is, Remy, we know a lot of businesses have already shut down. A lot of businesses are bleeding because they are not able to operate. So they have zero revenues. As a banker, do you have any advice for these business owners?
So at this point, the stimulus package was rolled out, and we are on. Most banks are getting online, and yes, they probably don't have it directly to their website. You must contact your banker, and your banker may have a link for you to apply. And so when you're looking at PPP, it's important that yes, it is on a first come first service basis, but there is just a lack of resources right now, and so practicing patience is key. So once you get through the application process, you will get regular emailed updates telling you, yes, we've received your application, and So continue to check back on your email at this point. But as we're bleeding from a business standpoint, and it's being very difficult for us to stay afloat, the PPP program is the best way and the best route to apply, even though banks out there aren't ready just yet. So continue to check back with your bankers and your bank representatives and see and continue to ask them when they would go live so you can get access to these funds.
And as a CPA, my general advice for many business owners is this is the best time. Now that you are not busy, running business, you're not busy like in your business, this is the best time to plan ahead to be working on your business. If you're a business owner who hasn't got the time to actually understand your financials, you don't know your numbers. So this is a perfect time for you to be sitting down and reading your financials, understanding what's your fixed cost. Can you afford this fixed cost? Is there any way to be more efficient? If you want to keep your employees, how to make sure that your employees are productive, because you don't want to be hiring your employees and let them idle without your guidance and directions, especially when a lot of people are working from home. I definitely think that communication becomes really important, that you have to always be motivating your employees, even for clients, your customers. This is the best time to really truly care for your customers and to go above and beyond, because doing business is different these days. You it's not as convenient. People can't just drive into your shop, but the needs are still there, right? I mean, the needs for your services, I would say that it's always, it will still be there. So be on the lookout and be very sensitive. If there are emails coming in, if there are phone calls, make sure that you pick them up, make sure that you address, concerns of your customers. I believe, your customers will really appreciate that.
Absolutely. And I would like to just add at the end that there are general guidance resource partners. Please, again, xqcpahouston.com under the links and resources page is a valuable resource for you in understanding what these programs look like and how to help you. And then there is the Texas Gulf Coast Small Business Development Center at sbdc.uofh.edu or Houston Score. So these are also valuable resources to you to help score your business, and think under the houston.score.org website. So, but at the end of the day, this is rolling out. I just read on thehill.com that they're going to be moving additional stimuluses through the House and the Senate to see because this money may be going faster. They're going to be rolling out some additional ones. So just practice patience. I know banks are working like crazy to get all the applications in at this point, and it really it sets us apart in a sense when your customers work with the boutique bank versus the big banks, and how relationship is important. Nonetheless, we're here to help. And if I have any additional resource page or centers that we can visit to get, if your bank is not offering it in the future, I will share that with Charlene so she can share it with y'all too.
Yeah, so one last point is on xqcpahouston.com/COVID-19. If you want any updated rules, regulations, resources, anything coming from SBA, anything coming from the U.S. Senate Committee, anything coming from the Chamber of Commerce's, we're going to actually put those information there, and hopefully you'll be able to utilize them to help you make informed decisions. So next we're going to take questions. We have a lot of questions, so Remy, let us try to divide, conquer, and get through them. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you guys, and good luck, business owners.